Want to attract and convert more leads? Want to learn how digital PR, branding, and SEO can establish and build your brand identity? Welcome to the Market Movers Building Brands and Links with Linkify podcast. We answer these questions and help you ramp up your brand visibility and credibility. Let's cut through the noise and make your business the talk of the town. We're your hosts, Nick and Chris. Let's get this show on the road.
Welcome to the Market Movers podcast. Today we are joined by Aco Momcilovic, a leading figure at the intersection of AI, ethics, and strategic human resources. He's a global speaker on AI ethics, the future of work, and the geopolitical ripple effects of artificial intelligence. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for the invitation.
Aco, thanks for coming on. I think to kick things off, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm not sure if I can stop with telling a little bit of myself, but let's maybe stick with two main titles that I can connect with my artificial intelligence project. So I'm the co-founder and president of Global AI Ethics Institute, which was established in Paris a few years ago. And also I'm the global head of AI special interest groups inside of the International Project Management Association. So obviously I'm doing few things that are connected with artificial intelligence, and I'm doing them for a little bit longer period of time than just last 3 years, right? So I kind of got engaged and involved maybe 5, 6, even 7 years ago in some cases. What I'm doing, I would say a lot of educations in the region. I prepared a few different educations like AI fundamentals, AI use cases for the specific areas of business, and then of course AI tools. And I'm aiming them for the non-technical people, obviously. I'm not a tech guy. I'm a psychologist by my initial education, finished MBA, and now doing my PhD in the digital economics with a specialization in artificial intelligence, of course. So I'm educating actually the management, the decision makers, the board members about the importance of this topic. And I'm having a few side projects that are also connected to that, like AI Business Hackathon and AI Art Singularity, which is also one very, I would say, cool passion project. So this would be it in very short. Usually on the lectures, I present the slide with most important information about me, but I tell people just connect on me on LinkedIn. Everything is written there. So there's a link to my LinkedIn profile.
Okay, so you said that AI's exploded in the past, let's say, 3 years. It's just increasingly getting more and more widespread. You were involved 7 years ago, you said. What issues geopolitically do you think are coming to the forefront of people's minds now, especially in the last couple of years?
Well, I think that people are very naturally thinking about artificial intelligence as mainly technological progress, which it is. The technology is developing, but basically, how I got, I would say, involved in the area is I created a concept of national AI capital. So I was thinking how the nations are reacting to this. In my perception, and that time, extremely important technological change. I mean, of course, we are speaking about the potentially new industrial revolution, right? And then on the other hand, we had, I would say, 100 plus or 150 plus countries that are completely unaware of what is happening. So for me, it was very interesting, and this is actually where I'm trying to create my PhD on. How can we estimate what are the reasons that countries are going to develop and implement artificial intelligence tools, right? So in the meantime, I think that all of that got confirmed from many sides. I think that we can still see a lot of countries and a lot of the country leaders that don't have the awareness about the importance of this topic, right? So for me, I think it's at the same level of importance and on the diplomatic level, the geostrategical level between the countries that they need to address, as it is specifically speaking interesting technological development on the individual level. So on many conferences, I was also kind of speaking about that, trying to alarm and to warn different managers, decision makers, government officials that you need to understand artificial intelligence, what is happening, the pace in which it is happening, and the impact it might have in the future. Some of those things, of course, are, I would say, the predictions which are not very reliable, but still we need to think about them, right? So, I mean, maybe just to give you an example, last year in Croatia, we had Dubrovnik Forum. It is one conference for the international leaders, right? And we had the panel about artificial intelligence, which was quite good. But I had a feeling that not enough people are really paying serious attention to that. So my recommendation for this year was to kind of put even more stress on the topic of artificial intelligence. Usually what I quote in some of my lectures is the quote, the country that controls and develops artificial intelligence will be the ruler of the world. Right. So you can see the level of understanding and attention of some of the countries, right? And I have, of course, the United States has the same level of understanding and perception. And then on the other hand, you have many of the people on the similar positions who are completely ignoring it and what are going to be the midterm and long-term consequences for their countries and people living in their countries.
So what are the specific concerns with this? I hear a lot about countries being left behind in the AI race, and I feel like it's mostly geared towards like economic impact, like the number of AI startups they have. Like Europe is starting to produce some like really good AI startups. But before that, it's mostly been, I feel like, the US and China. But what are the biggest concerns of getting left behind here? Is it just the economic impact, or is there other elements that are at play?
I mean, do you need any more impact than economic impact? So we could stop there, yeah. But I think that one thing is the economy, but I mean also the thought leadership, right? I mean, even if we scratch aside and forget for a short period of time about the economics and the money, which is driving everything, you need to have the knowledge and understanding to influence the whole story about ethics, right? How are we going to design responsibly all of those future or current tools, right? So one of the, I would say, goals and the mission of Global AI Ethics Institute is to raise the awareness that most of the countries are actually not involved in this discussion. What responsible, what ethical artificial intelligence means, because it is dictated very naturally again by the countries who are developing it. So we had like Europe and United States that are developing it and setting the ethical boundaries, which is usually Western ethics, right? Which is very connected with Immanuel Kant, for example, right? But we have on the world level 180 ethical systems and our systems of norms which are not addressed in the development of artificial intelligence. So one of the goals is actually, also to kind of to bring that to the table and tell the people, okay, we need to listen to everybody and what they think is ethical or not ethical, right? Because there is not probably one universal way to address it. Obviously, we see that in the different approaches that China, for example, has.
And do you think that world leaders are starting to pay attention to this need for like open AI borders, as it were, to have this world global stage discussion on AI? Or are we, because we're seeing mass adoption, obviously global from an individual level, but from a geopolitical level, are governments going to start talking to each other? People are starting to stand up and pay attention?
Yeah, I have a feeling that the governance of artificial intelligence is becoming increasingly important topic. We have, of course, developments in the European Union. A few weeks back, we had a Paris summit about artificial intelligence, and the first time we've seen that French President Emmanuel Macron was kind of showing signs of leadership. Yes, we are going to lead this. We are going to invest some money. We are going to dedicate some money. We want to be present on the stage. Of course, we've seen the similar things in the United States. We have similar things in the Israel, for example, right? So there are countries who are already there. But I think that, they're going to address it. I mean, they will have to address it, whether they like it or not, sooner or later. So it's better to do it sooner. Right? We had some concerns, for example, I think it's already now 2 years ago from this open letter, right, which was signed by Elon Musk, who said, okay, we need to kind of to slow it down, which in theory sounds like a good idea. In practice, it proved to be impossible because you will not get anybody sitting on the table to agree on that, because there is that first mover advantage fear that, okay, if we get second there and if the other country is just going to develop it first, then we are kind of endangered, our national security, our everything is going to suffer. Right. So currently we are just doing this race, potentially, as some are saying, to the bottom. And I think it's a very good time that the country leaders should address that and sit down and talk about what are we going to do, if it's even now possible, if it's not too late, right? Because we are having Well, I mean, we are having corporations who are driving this development, right, and driving this discussion. So I was at some point kind of comparing the development of the fundamental technologies in the 20th century, right, which was basically driven or supported by the governments, right? And then we have 21st century, and governments are not that involved, or some would even say not involved at all. So basically, the question is, can we even control it? Is it even possible? Right? So I mean, extremely interesting questions, and you can choose only one of them to have like 1 or 2 hour podcast speaking only about that.
Yeah, exactly. So the open letter, I think that's an interesting thing to touch on there, because there's a lot of concern over how fast things are developing. There's also a lot of concern over like there's I guess the thought that the EU would take the time to come up with the right safety guardrails, and the U.S. wouldn't, is that's usually how that works. So the U.S. is always kind of the Wild West in these kind of things. Well, I guess what are the big concerns there with things going too quickly? I assume there's national security concerns. But what other kind of concerns are there with things advancing too fast without sort of guardrails in place?
So maybe to give one information as a context, I think that few days back we had a scientific paper published with the title AI has passed the Turing test, right? So we were kind of perceiving it, but the new ChatGPT 4.5 in March passed the Turing test, right? So this is kind of, I would say, relevant milestone. So yeah, the second interesting information also to answer this question is that European Union took like 6 or 7 years to create the EU AI Act. So you are aware how many things changed in 6-7 years. In 2017, when they 18, 19, when they started working on it, there was nothing close to ChatGPT, right? And the large language models. Then, like 3 years ago, they kind of need, okay, let's consider also that. So obviously, the legislation is moving at its usual pace, which is not that fast, and the technology is developing, I would say, quite fast. And then we have this discussion: are we going to hit another winter? Is it going to slow down because of the technical reasons or not? I think that most of the experts are thinking it's going to continue. It's not going to stop in the next few years, right? So then the question is, what do we do? Can we do anything? How are we going to react to that? And yeah, there are going to be, there are going to be winners and losers. This is one of the fears. And the thing is that we are getting a lot of information, and we are getting more skilled and capable of doing a lot of things, but unfortunately we are not getting any wiser at the same time, not at the same speed. So this is the problem. What will happen if in a 2 year you are going to have some kind of even more incredible system that is going to be able to do unimaginable things available to certain number and group of people? How is this going to affect the society? This is actually something that I'm kind of thinking about and trying to do some research. How this technology is going to affect the society and the economics? What are going to be the consequences? And it's extremely unpredictable because we've never seen or witnessed something that is similar to that, I would argue. Right? So for example, to give you one of the idea about one of my projects. It's called Existential Experience Designer. So I was collecting data from different MBAs and professionals. What is going to happen if you don't have to work in a few years? If all the work is done by some kind of AGI, like artificial general or closed system, right? So what is then changing in the society? How are you going to find the meaning? How are you going to find the identity? Right? What are you going to do with your free time? How somebody who is then leading the countries or the country, how are you going to make people occupied? Right? Is it going to be games? Is it going to be art? Is it going to be war? Is it going to be something else? How are you going to give them money to live? Is it going to be like one of those usual scenarios like universal basic income? Okay, you solve part of the problem. They're not going to starve and die or just go to war and kill each other, but still a big part of this problem is still not solved. What are they going to do and to find the purpose and meaning? So this is obviously some of the topics that I would say number of people and experts around the world are starting to think about, to research, and try to kind of formulate some questions and predictions.
It's It's really, really interesting because I think we, as individuals, well, me and Nick, obviously, we run a marketing agency. So for us, AI has been very much like a personal implementation for our own means. And it's been fun to see the technology progress at such a rapid rate. But when you talk about it in a much broader sense of the speed and the need to not just have political leaders of their own countries be aware of the importance of AI, but at the potential that we might, we've already potentially passed the Turing test. We may reach AGI and then God knows what and at what speed after. We need the political leaders to come together to be aware of something that we can't even possibly comprehend yet. I mean, we're quite a dangerous potential situation. Is that fair to say?
I would completely agree with you. I think this is a very good comment. With unfortunately this reality that I'm not even sure when I think about our country leaders and imagining them of gathering and making some decisions, I'm not sure if this is even possible for many reasons. First of them being that I'm still not sure that they are educated enough, right? What can you see in many countries, right? You have political leaders that are spending their time and mental resources on only one thing, to be re-elected, right? So you're doing and you're thinking in the terms of 4 or 5 years, and you're dealing with the daily struggles and the affairs and the corruptions and stuff like that, right? You're not thinking about, I don't know, 5 to 10 years and what is going to happen on the greater, broader international level, right? So then you need to put those people in one place and tell them, oh, look, can you make a decision about something which you do not understand?
Yeah.
And even the experts cannot predict how it's going to end. I mean, you mentioned what will happen if we get to the artificial general intelligence. We are not sure if this is going to happen. Fortunately, I'm very happy when I see that the number of experts is saying this is impossible to achieve with the current level of technology. Unfortunately, the bigger percentage is saying, yes, it is possible, and we are going to achieve it in the next number of years. What is interesting that this prediction period shortened significantly in the last 5 years, right? So then, I mean, even if we stay on the level of AI tools, we are going to have enough topics to talk about. If we get to the level of AGI, then all bets are off, right? Then really, even the biggest global experts are probably cannot give you some kind of very valuable and useful prediction, right? So then we need to kind of develop some kind of resilience to see, yeah, you're working as a marketing agency, right? That's very nice. You're using it as a tools, you're doing some copyright, you're doing some visuals, it is making your job faster with better quality. Maybe you're not going to need to hire 10 people in the future for that job. Maybe you're going to need 2 or 3 persons to do all of it, right? And similar happening to other agencies, right? So there is that kind of saying that is old now. AI is not going to replace people. People with AI are going to replace those who don't use the AI. Yeah. Sure. In the next maybe 3 to 5 years after that, who knows? Maybe really there's just going to be algorithm that does all of your job for somebody. So then you become obsolete. We don't know. But it is at least now theoretical possibility to imagine something like that.
Okay. So I have one more question on the government side, and then I want to move on to like sort of the future of work over the next couple of years. But I'm curious, what do you think government should be doing? If we have these concerns of AGI, a lot of people, we have the figuring out what to do. How should governments be thinking about that? What should they do to actually prepare for that scenario?
Yeah, well, that's a very good question. I was thinking about creating one think tank to give answer to that, because obviously, I mean, I don't know it. So at first, there is no general answer because we have very big countries with a lot of resources and we have many small countries. So definitely different strategies. Yes, if you're United States, China, maybe UK, and a few other countries, develop the AI, work on the foundational models, work on the technology. 100 plus countries are too small. We don't have the resources. We are not going to create, probably, it seems, our models, but what we can do is the implementation. So be first in the implementation in the certain areas of artificial intelligence. So it would be good, I mean, my advice to many country leaders would be, okay, what is your strategical competitive advantage considering the environment and the other countries, right? So for example, Croatia is relatively good, I would say, in tourism, right? Okay, let's connect it. let's develop and implement tools that are connected with artificial intelligence in tourism. So be the first in the world in one niche. Find your niche, find where you have enough data, enough people, enough businesses. So then position yourself to be the leader in that part. And then you're going to have somebody, I don't know, in the construction, somebody in health, somebody in tourism, somebody, I don't know, in many other areas. But at least you're going to have some expertise that you can sell around the world, right? So this would be kind of my, let's say, first level, very short and superficial answer.
I watched the film The Creator. I don't know if you've seen that. The AI took over the world, and then there was like a fight between the believers of AI and the non-believers.
I've never heard of that.
It's a good watch. Seemingly a bit maybe far-fetched, but maybe less so after this conversation with Aco. My final question on this part is, if we were to be invaded by aliens, we would need a unified global response. But it's quite unlikely that we will be invaded by aliens. If AI got out of hand, we would need, in order to survive, a unified global response. And that seems much more likely to happen. But this unified global response, it seems, especially with all our geopolitical differences, that the world stage is not united, is it? So it does seem like almost like an impossible uphill task.
I will connect my answer to also what you said in the beginning of your question, right? So I agree. First of all, I also have the feeling that we would be fragmented. And the bigger problem is that we could perceive some aliens as one entity that is endangering us all. But it's not going to happen with AI, right? So we are not going to feel it as like one entity that is endangering all of us at the same time. So there is not one clear enemy, right? And the question is how it is going to attack us theoretically in this scenario that you developed. And actually, I am doing something, I'm trying to do some research, and I'm going to give one lecture on one religious conference very soon. And it is connected also to something that few other famous authors said, for example, Harari. Actually, the AI is just now creating narratives. It's creating stories. So the potential attack on us would be completely on a different level, right? And one of the areas of interest is, for example, artificial intelligence and religion. Can AI be used in religious context to create new religions, or to kind of to foster the current religions, kind of to allow you to communicate with the believers of one group and to give them like the better insights in their religion? So if you're Christian, how to interpret the Bible, how to make it closer to the people. If you're in Islam, then you're going to do the similar in Quran. What happens if we have one religion or one sect who says, okay, we are not going to use it internally to make our beliefs better, but we are going to use it externally to attract believers from other groups, right? So in let's say in a more aggressive way. So then you can use all of this information to give the personalized, customized message that is sending exactly information that you see and that are kind of related to your religion to attract other people. So this is also something that potentially could be very significant and very important in the future. So then, yeah, the question is, even if we get to the AGI, it's not going to attack us with some kind of kinetic weapons, right? Or to send the nukes, most probably. It could just choose to send us the stories that we want to hear and to get from us what we want in that way, right? And I mean, the platforms are here. The social media is the perfect channel just to send to Chris what he wants to see to hear, to Nick what he wants to hear, and to like 100 million other people exactly what and how and when, using all of their vulnerabilities, they want to believe and how to behave, right? So then how can we unify against the perfect adversary that actually making us to love him, right? So it's just going to make us to fall in love with the enemy.
That's interesting. I think that's like where we're already at. So you're saying like AI could really speed that up, could make that a lot more intense. We already like live in these bubbles where we get like curated news, versions for whatever party we fall into or whatever. So you think it could just speed that up, intensify it?
Yeah. I mean, for sure. And then you can go even deeper. I mean, I was giving some time ago one TEDx talk about the artificial intelligence and love. the relationships, right? How we can change the relationship and the expectations from people, and how, I mean, we are having people who are literally in love with some chatbots currently, right? So it's going to influence a lot of the things for I would say definitely for the newer generation.
It's interesting. All right, let's talk about current state of things in as far as it goes with like the job market. So I think we've already seen like a massive disruption in the marketing space, which we've noticed since we're in that space. Content marketing, that's not a great business to be in at the moment, unless you're very specialized. I think we're either seeing or will see this soon with like design agencies, as some of these new tools that are coming out are phenomenal. There's a lot of talk about the same thing happening in the knowledge worker space. So I'm curious, what industries do you think over the next couple of years will be disrupted before we get to this potential AGI point, just in the next few years with the current technology that we have or the way it's developing?
Well, yeah, we can. I mean, it's not even the future; it's the present, right? So you have the customer service centers, you have the translators, you have, as you mentioned, the marketing, PR agencies, content writers, stuff like that. So I mean, it is disrupted. It is not destroyed. So we were kind of thinking that it's going to change even more dramatically the uh, what is happening with the workforce. Still, it did not happen in that sense because there are also other forces that are kind of plating the whole market. But definitely, I'm speaking with a lot of people who've seen the changes already, right? And a lot of companies who did fire people or hire less people. And I think that this is very good observation because if you were speaking with people 5 6 years ago, the narrative there then was that yeah, AI is going to replace those routine jobs, right, automatic jobs, right. But those of us who have let's say higher education, no, we are still going to be creative enough. We are not going to be replaceable. And then things changed. So lawyers could be replaced, doctors theoretically could be replaced or kind of augmented in some ways, teachers also. So we are now, I mean, a lot of the professions are on the table, I would say. So even if we don't get to the AGI, even with the improvement of the current systems, I think that I mean their jobs, some functions of their jobs are going to change or to be adapted, right? So I mean now the white collar workers are not safe anymore. So I could see that shift literally happening. Like, oh no, designers, they are creative. They're not going to be replaced. And now, like, a lot of people are doing the design themselves, and I mean, quite good design. And designers, professional ones, are also much more efficient using their knowledge and experience to produce much more content, which is also on the higher quality.
So there's obviously a thought by many that adoption of AI is our safest bet in order to mitigate against the potential disruptions to the industries that we're in. If those industries do become obsolete at some point, what can we do as business owners to further mitigate that risk?
Yeah, so I don't know.
Yeah, I
But
didn't
this
think you
is
would.
yeah, I mean this is but it's maybe it's more about the process. So I mean I'm doing one of my keynote lectures is exactly on the topic AI and the future of work, and then I'm showing them really different parts, what we know, what we think we know, and what we don't know, actually, to be completely fair, just presenting them with a lot of information. So I think that when I remember myself doing my first educations 2.5 years ago, I told my audience, look, you need to learn about it and how to use it, but with the knowledge that it's going to be obsolete only in a few months. But you're not learning it today just to know to work with that, but because it's going to allow you to learn the newer versions more easier, right? So it's going to be easier for you to track the progress. So if you started with ChatGPT 3.5, probably you're more accustomed to and you're working a little bit better with ChatGPT 4.5, right? Or with DeepSeek or with Anthropic Perplexity or with other tools, right? If you're starting, if you have your first education in 2025, probably you have some time to catch up on in one way. On the other way, things change, and probably you don't need to be that skilled at prompting because all the newer versions are having this chain of thought thinking and many other functionalities that kind of emerged recently. But still, it's good to know and to track the progress because this is actually how When the moment comes, you will be maybe able to think, okay, I know what was happening. Now it's time for me to rethink my position and where could I pivot my company? Where can I kind of change my business model and to do it in a relatively short period of time. But yeah, I can see let's say the near future where many enterprises could be endangered.
It was like, I think maybe a year ago where there was this thought that like the future marketing role would be a prompt engineer. And that was a huge thing. Like that you need to learn how to prompt. And then it's been the last couple of months, everyone's, the talk has been, you don't really need to do that anymore. Now you can just sort of say what you think and the model will figure it out. So as we wrap up here, we've talked a lot about the industries that are going to be massively disrupted, that are going to be more challenging. Are there any industries that you think like now is the golden opportunity outside of like an AI startup that you think now it's never been easier, now's never been a better time to get into this space because of AI?
No, I'm not sure. I was thinking with one of my friends, he proposed some kind of project like let's identify the niches which don't require AI, which are not going to be affected by AI, and we abandoned the project because we couldn't find them, right? So basically, I think that what we can see is that we are going to have this period of transition when you're going to have a lot of people with certain experience that are going to help companies to implement AI tools, right? So I think that partially what I'm doing of raising the awareness, educating people, and then those companies who are kind of developing AI tools and implementing them, they're going to have a bigger market. Because, I mean, the reality is probably depending on the country, depending on the area of business, we are still kind of like 10, 20, up to 30% of the partial adoption, I would say. So there's huge number of companies who really still in 2025 didn't start even playing with artificial intelligence, and they're not going to start in 26 or in 27, right? So there is a room for a number of people kind of to encourage that change and to help them to do the implementation. We were thinking maybe then also to kind of to conclude with that. A few years back, I was speaking with my colleagues and I was asking them, do you think that AI could do the counseling, right? To work as a psychologist? And they were like, no, because you need empathy for that. You need kind of different relations and different kind of way of thinking. And this, in my opinion, proved not to be true. We could have a reasonably good AI powered counselors, at least on the level of sharing the information, right? Giving you the high quality information. The counseling is not only information, to be clear. You need to form the relationship with the other person. So then we could have some setbacks, but in the sense of what they can provide and show emotions and understanding and empathy, at least on the level of our perception, I think that they're also doing that. AI systems, right?
There's been some early studies on therapy with AI, and it's quite interesting. So there's I think that's an area that I think will be dramatically improved because there are a lot of people who they don't have time to go into somebody's office. Maybe they feel embarrassed about it. I know that's like a generational thing. Some generations are way more accepted of going to therapy. So that's an area that I think could do well. And I think there's a lot of people who they're always going to want to talk to a human. So that the human side of that will be safe as well.
Yeah. I mean, I agree, and this is going to happen all across the board. But this was one of my points, for example, in the education sector. I still think, and it could prove in the future that the best teachers are human teachers, right? But what people forget or don't have the information that, for example, globally, you have 400 million children without any chance to get education, the basic education, because there's not enough teachers. So even if you take them and give them some kind of basic AI powered education in maths, language, and stuff like that, they're going to improve, at least get to the average, right? And similar is happening with the healthcare. I was even thinking also for the lawyers, right? AI could replace lawyers in some way, but on the other hand, is that many people are not using the services from the lawyers because they don't have enough money, they don't have enough knowledge, they're not sure, they perceive it costly, right? So then you first can have some kind of consulting with the AI and then kind of to decide to do the triage and say, okay, now I'm going to use the lawyer because I can see that it makes sense. So yeah, maybe some people at the end are going to have more work.
My final question, and just to touch on what you've been discussing, and especially in relation to your psychological background, will public over the next few years, do you envisage a future where there will be a dynamic between public perception? So much like some people will eat chicken, but some people will only eat organic chicken. Will some people never buy AI? If it's been touched by AI, they won't do it, and other people will just embrace it. Could there be that shift in how we the consumers approach businesses and products?
Yeah, I think that we are definitely going to see some struggles and division of people, but I think that almost all of the people are going to use AI, but some of them are going to be more critical about it. And we maybe, we are on the verge of seeing that on the one level before on the social media, right? Because we have now enough data that is showing us it's not good to give the social media to your children. So we maybe should stop it or ban it. So something similar to that could happen with artificial intelligence when we say, okay, let's agree that, yeah, it's good, it's great in some areas, but in some areas we need to ban it, right? We are not going to allow our children to develop their brains only in the communication with artificial intelligence, right? So then we are going to those who are like really like pro AI, and then who are going to be kind of warning against it. But it's going to be interesting to see which group is going to have more power, because obviously we will have corporations that are having incentives to sell as many products as they can, as many, and kind of to push it in the society. And we don't have the scientific research that is backing up fast enough the other side telling us, look, we have like concrete proof that this is not good, because it's a longer process.
A lot of that's going to fall on the parents, and then they're going to be in a tough place to try and figure out, like, what am I doing that's protecting my child versus setting them back from the other kids that are getting that tech experience,
But you immediately pointed to the problem. If you leave it to the individuals, to the parents, we know what will happen. Most of the parents, I would say 70 to 80% of the parents are just going to do what is easy for them, right? Yeah. Because the other thing is not easy. You need to invest energy, time, and stuff like that, right? And many people around the world don't have it. So if you ask people, do you want privacy or security? They are going to choose probably security and kind of take away my privacy. I don't care. Even if it's not maybe that good for them. So similar thing could happen here. If it's not systematically designed and kind of decision made about it, I think that the final outcome is not going to be good. Because if you ask the parents, look, you have like half an hour or 1 hour with your daughter or with your son, so you can leave them with AI or invest a lot of your energy, probably they're just going to do what is easier for them in many cases.
Yeah. And that almost brings us full circle to where we started, which is, is there going to be a single body, or is there going to be guidance from the top to take us in a direction which is safe and sustainable?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I would be surprised to see that, because I think that there are too many different interests, too many approaches, too many beliefs that are not all converging to the same point. And maybe if that ever happens, that we are all completely sure what is good or not, it might be too late at that point to make this decision, because the ghost will be out of the battle already.
Yeah. Aco, it's been an absolutely fascinating discussion. Thank you so much for your time. If people want to find you, where can they, if they want to connect?
I have the old school social media. I have LinkedIn, I have Instagram, Facebook, but usually I'm for the business communication and talk about AI. I use my LinkedIn profile, so you're probably going to put a link somewhere in the comments. So yeah, this would be a perfect way to stay in touch with me.
Sounds great.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, guys. It was a pleasure.
And that wraps up this episode of Market Movers, Building Brands and Links with Linkify. Big thanks to our parent company, Linkify, the wizards behind turning ambitious businesses into standout brands. Hit up our website at linkify.io and take the first steps towards brand greatness. Big shout out to Fame for making this podcast possible. Thanks for listening, folks. Stick around for more insights in our next episode. Catch you later.